Hi, and today I'm going to be taking us through the ductwork estimating software. So what we've done is I've got the software opened up straight away for us. This is the front page of it. You'll be spending most of your time probably in the create or amend job. I've got some other options up here on the top right, such as your support panel. So you can click on here and it will give you all of our new support page with all of our help resources, as well as our ticketing system, being able to make suggestions and being able to talk to us through live chats. What else that you can do up here is you can go into your tools options. So in here you have the ability to build on your client database, which can be done in the create job menu as well. You have component/material file. In here is all of the settings effectively for the ductwork, so the installation time as well as the prices. Miscellaneous file is more for your company information and automatic markup that you'd like to be applied at any point if needs be. System preferences is a bit more how it sounds. It is a bunch of tick boxes that changes how the software works. Sometimes it can be quite drastic, so if you would like the software to do anything else or just wondering if it can, all you have to do is ask us. And update is where we can go into get really into the specifications of the software and where we can make allowances per square meters for whether for fire rated, cost or insulation, and where we can also change our support spacings and what gauge thickness we'd like to go on when. So what we're going to do today though is we're just going to go into a job and create that from scratch. So we're going to go for create job. So the first thing I'm going to put in here is my job code. Now you're allowed up to 7 characters. You can use letters or numbers. It doesn't really like spaces or symbols, however it doesn't mind a hyphen. So input what you need there. To the right of that is the parent code, which is not necessary. The only necessary thing that needs to be filled in on this whole page is the job code, which we've done. The parent code is an optional group code because the job code can only be used once, but you can have the same parent code on multiple times. So you might use this for perhaps revisions of the same job, or even if you're doing it to organise it per client. Job name, simply say what the job's called. So I'm just going to put Ensign example job. There we go. And then what we are going to want to do from here, select our client. So I'm going to go for Ensign. And I can also select myself a tender submission date. So on my amend job page, as I get closer and closer towards the submission date, the job will actually change colour, and all of the colours can be picked and chosen in the system preferences. Below that is more so for travel distance, if we wanted to make any additional cost per mile or having a lodge value for the week. So for example, if I just fill this out a little bit more, drop it down a bit, there we are. And I have all of my allowances there. Now that will save there for next time, so if I would like to incorporate it, all I simply have to do is say how many miles away my job is. Below that, daily additional costs, very simple, just add on any more costs that need to be allowed for. This could be parking, toll booth, congestions, anything like that at all. Below that we have our different labour rates. So in here I only have one option for a site pair labour rate. I could go and add new /amend to create or add in any other options, or I could go for special labour rate, and this will allow me to type in a one-off job specific rate in the site rate box here. And in this particular circumstance I'm running a manufacturing version of the data, so I do have a shop rate being included on here. If you were a fully bought out version of the software, then the shop rate wouldn't be applicable to you and would be set to a value of 0. So now I've filled in everything I need to start my job through the job header. I'm simply just going to press continue, and that's going to default take us to the takeoff stage. Okay, now it does automatically jump forward from the spec page, so you can always click on spec or just press your back button, whichever way you prefer, and this will bring you into the specification of the job, where we have the ability to set different access door levels depending on when we need them to, what we need them to go on, and how frequently you'd need that. And we can also go a bit more into the actual specs and change what the specs of the ductwork were. So this is what I mentioned earlier about changing the gauge thickness of the metal or the support spacings, or for example allowing for fire rated ductwork. I'm just going to leave it on the standard, a low velocity, and standard set of access doors, as you can see there. press continue, and that will take me back to the takeoff stage. Now in here we've effectively got 3 different parts of the page. You've got your item selection over here on the left hand side, your sectional structure here in the middle, and what we call your examine grid over here on the right that will show you all of the individual items you've added in to the relevant sections. So the first thing we're actually going to want to probably do in this instance is create our section structure. So I'm just going to make a little example now of a building with 2 floors, and I need to do a supply system and an extract system. So obviously you guys could expand off that and in any more detail that you'd need to. So I'm just going to go for ground floor, and there we are. So I did that by simply just left clicking it a good few times so I could rename it. Now what I want to do is I want to give this section subsections. So I'm going to come down here and select the option B and then press plus. So this is going to add my B level to my A level ground floor. So simply rename this, and I could call this supply, and I'd like another one for extract. So I'm going to leave B highlighted and just press plus, and there we are, and that will allow me to have my extract section. I could subsection the 2 services off even more if I needed to, with C level sections or even D level sections if you need to take it that far. But hopefully it's just going to be A's and B's that you guys are using. Now you can have as many subsections inside of a folder as you'd like. There is no limitation on the amount that you can have. There is a couple of quicker ways that you can do to actually build it to help you go through and create your different floors in my instance, rather than going A plus, B plus and B plus and renaming it all. I could simply just right click the folder and click the option of duplicate. This will give me an identical copy of the folder. All I'd need to do is rename this copied section to my first floor, and I could repeat this as many times as needs be. Now one little safety feature with the section structure is a folder cannot be deleted. I cannot delete any of the folders. For me to remove it, I have to remove both of the subsections inside of it. So if I delete the extract, and you can also delete by just highlighting it and pressing the minus symbol down here, you'll see now that copied section will disappear when I press yes. There you go. And you can always keep this open, which I personally think is a little bit better, with just right click on any of this blank white space here, keep globally expanded. There we go. So now we have our section structure created. I know this is a very basic version of it, but you can break this up into as much detail as you need. Now effectively at this point there's 2 ways. This would either be where you'd want to read in from the PDF takeoff that we've done, or perhaps we just need to manually input the sizes and the relevant items. So if we look over here on the left hand side, you've got your rectangular items up here and then your spiral items down here. Now these are just your common items that we put images up there for. Any of the other relevant items are just in one of these 2 boxes down here, either selected rectangular or selected circular items. Click in there, there you are. You can see there's a few more options. Now if you do speak with us, we can add any additional items that you may need onto either of the menus for you. Just need to let us know. You do also have the option of the labour only choices as well. If it's some fixed only attenuators or fans that you might need, we do have these options in here as well for you. But for any of the items, the standard kind of items, your straight ductwork and all of your bends, tees and reducers, that's all up here. So I'm just going to click on my rectangular straight image, and it's just asked me for the relevant size, so I'm just going to put in a 500 by 500, and we have 15 meters of that. Confirm. It now knows what size I've got, so I can click on my relevant bends, see how many bends I have, and slowly just move through the motions of that. Even when I go to input a reducer, there we go. And now I might go back to my straight if I was following my takeoff list and put in my next set of sizes. And I can slowly just keep working my way through like that. Alternatively, if you want a bit of a faster option for inputting, go to input options and turn on takeoff sheet format. This will then allow you to just input all of the sizes that you need with the relevant quants. something like that. There we go. And now all of these sizes will now be included when I go click on the images, and I can just say how many of each one that I need. This can make inputting in a lot faster, especially if you wanted it sorted on your screen as component rather than size by side, sorry, that we've got happening a bit more up here at the top. Now any of the items, if you do want to reorder anything, simply just highlight it and use your arrows down here, and you can move everything about where it needs to be. Now anything which is inclusive of access doors that we were looking at earlier that we can set up, whether that would be the straight, the bends, or simply one of the dampers. So mine are only set to the dampers in this instance, so I'm going to click on my damper. Once again, all of my sizes are there, so I could say, well actually it's only for this size that I need the dampers for, and I need 3 of them. And press confirm, and that's going to input my dampers with the correct access doors sized. And as you can see, we can slowly just start working our way through the software and adding it in. Now with the circular, because we've changed the takeoff sheet format to this option, it is a lot easier because you do not have to input all of the sizes which you would initially need. You can just put them in against the bought out file that's being read in the back end of the software. Once again, it's going to do the same thing for the bends for us. And there we are, and we slowly start to build up our quotation. Now I did mention these previously, I'm just going to add them on just so you can see. So labour only grill, fix only grills, confirm. It just wants my size and the quantity, so it's a standard 500 by 500 grill, and there's 3 of them. And there we go. So that's now inputted as a fix only item for us as well, so we can easily see that with its description. And we'll add in a selected item, we'll add on a air valve. We'll have this for the smaller stuff. There we go, and 1 knife. Now this item is actually something which isn't in the database or linked up, or perhaps we might have set this up in a very special way, so every time you have to get your quotation. This can be especially helpful on some of the larger size dampers, especially if they've motorized. So I'm just going to import cost £25 and confirm. And there we go. That's inputted that in for us. So inputting the items manually through the software is nice and easy. You just need to select on which of the items that you need, and you can easily go from there. Now alternatively, if we are reading it in from the PDF takeoff, all we have to do is simply go to the import PDF. Now this is involving a scenario where I have already completed the drawing and I've got to read it in. So all I'm going to do is press import PDF. I've already got my file, it's already saved there because it's saved into the drawing folder, which we'll cover a bit more when we go over the PDF takeoff for the Ductwork software as well. But for now I'm just going to grab the Ductwork training. So this is my drawing. I'm going to press open, and in here I can see I have my different colours with my different services labelled up clearly. Now I know this is my first floor, so I'm going to go supply, perfect, I want that to go into first floor supply, import. And then I want to grab the extract and input the extract into the extract system just here, and import again. And now I can press exit, and there we are, I can see how it's all nicely built up on the screen there for me. And just as a nice little feature, if I'm happy with the section and that I've completed everything, I can right click, section status, mark it as green as complete. There we are. It's just a nice little sanity check just so you can help yourself through and basically make sure that you're done. This doesn't actually change anything, it's just a visual feature, but I do think it's quite helpful just to have it there as a little bit of an extra. And I know this is only a very minor thing, but if for example you wanted the extract to be above the supply system because you wanted it alphabetical for example, simply grab your extract. I always find it easier to grab the icon rather than the text, and then just drag it to where you need it to be. So I'm going to put the black line above supply, and there we are. Now it's more alphabetical for us. I'm going to do the same thing here. There we are. Now once again, that can be nice and easily done, as you can see here, even with the main headed folders. It's very easy to just drag around and get them into the position where you need them. There we go. So So we slowly start to build up our project drawing by drawing, by adding in the extra little bits as and when we need them, even between them. If we just needed to add on a couple of fix only items we didn't allow for, we can go for whichever sort of option that we prefer. Even if it's something simple that maybe even now on the next floor, we might use that duplicate trick again, because we've looked at the drawings and seen that on the second floor it's basically the same as the first floor, except for a small portion of it where perhaps we just need to add on a couple of more meters. Something along the lines of that. Okay, so from there, if you are happy with this bit and you've inputted everything that you need onto the project, then you can press continue to move you forward towards the calculate stage. I just want to show you a couple of other little features in here though. You do have the ability of throwing on comment lines for yourself, just for your own reference. If you needed to come back or retrieve any sort of quotation or anything along those lines of that, or if you even wanted to leave a note for your client to be produced on the bill of quantities, you can use comment lines to do that. And it does like to show up in its nice different colour, just so it's really easy for you guys to see when you're flicking through your different sections. You also have the ability of including special items. So this might be a very particular item you have to get a particular price for, if it is a very large damper, for example, or if you needed to go for special items, if you needed to allow some time for perhaps some removal or site surveying, then you also have that functionality in here as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just move us forward towards the calculate stage. So as soon as you press continue, it's going to calculate for us automatically because it's our first time getting to it, and it's just going to take us through and put us onto the summary table like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm quickly just going to take us back to takeoff again, and just going to continue again to the calculate stage just so you can see this prompt. So the job has been calculated at the moment based off of the current settings we have. So that's down to the whatever the site labour cost is, the installation times, the bought out materials prices in my instance, because of our manufacturing, the cost of steel per tonne and all the flanges. This is the current calculation. For example, if I come back to this job in 6 months' time and I've updated all of the list price items in my software, I don't want to accidentally recalculate this job using my current prices. What I'd more than likely want to do is take a copy of the job and then recalculate the copied version. So do be careful when it comes to this, and don't just always hit the yes button, because it might change the cost of the job depending if you have altered any of the settings. So from a second ago when we've just done it, it won't make any difference pressing yes this time. Okay, so the summary table is showing you the complete breakdown of your job. So how much the site installation is, how much all the materials are costing to buy, and how long all of this is going to take. So what I'd like us to do first is look down here in the bottom left. We can see our total site hours, or we can view that in days if that's easier, and we can do the same thing for the manufacturing on the shop. And we can see our cost and our selling rates if we did want to alter our selling rates, because there is multiple different ways we can choose to mark up the job in this software. Okay, so if we come up here at the top, we can see our materials. So this would be referred to as manufacturing materials and site installations, the shop labour, site labour, and the bought out, so things like the dampers and the circular ductwork. So if you move down, you can see all of your different total costs, and if you wanted to mark this all up differently, so you mark up your materials differently from your labour, you would use this on cost percentage here, for example. So I could go through and put 20, 15, 15 and 20, because I mark up my labour a little bit less than my material as an example. If that's not necessarily how you do it, you can use the overhead and profit box down here, but just before we move on to that, just like to show you, if you do use the selling boxes down here, as you can see my values have changed. They directly affect with the on cost, they're linked. So if I wanted to sell this out at £30 and then my shop labour at £14, there we are, it automatically changes the on cost percentages up here to suit. But if that's not how you guys usually do it, and you want to do it just as a nice overhead and profit kind of percentages, then you just want to come down here to these two down here. I could, for example, put 10% in for overhead and a nice 10% there for profit. So where these are getting the figures from, if we look over here, so all these amount total to here, and then we are taking 10% of that value, which is here, for the overhead. Now if you add these two values together and take another 10%, that will then give you the profit. So all of the figures have been added together to give you your net contract cost. If you do need to include builder's discount, as you can see it there, we still do it the traditional way of 1/39th, and you just type it in there like so, and it will add it onto the quote for you, and it's just as easy as to take it back off again. This will then just leave you basically with your prelims, prime costs and provisional sums if these needed to be included onto the job. So all of these can be found up here on the top left of the page. So you have your prime cost tab where you're able to see all of the different options in here. All you have to do if you'd like to use one is just overtype the description within it and simply input your amount, and you can include an on-cost percentage if you wanted to, because one thing with either the prime cost tab or the prelims tab, none of the overhead, profit or the on-cost percentages here will be added on to these. As you can see, they get added on at the very end of the quotation. That's what this line here is signifying. Very similar thing with prelims, except there's actually 3 different ways you can input it in. You have your fixed costs, which is just lump sum amounts. You then have your time related costs, which are weekly rates and number of weeks needed, which can be helpful if we are spreading it out over quite a few days. And then percentage costs, if you do find it easier just to allow X percentage of the job to cover you with your cost of your prelims. Now you can pick a mix between all 3 of them and use as much as you'd like out of any of them, and you can alter any of your descriptions for this job by simply clicking into it. If you would like to make any permanent adjustments though, just press your prelim descriptions boxes up here, and this will allow you to do the same thing, but the adjustments will be permanent. And with the prelims, even if you are including them, down here you can set whether you'd like them to be shown, as mine will be set to at the minute, or I could spread them and hide them within the cost of all of my rates. So you do have both options there. Okay, so now we're getting towards the end of our quotation. Now there's different sets of reports and bills basically for yourself and for your client. So select reports are basically all this information in here is for you guys. So these aren't the quotations that we'd usually prepare to send out to the clients. So this is more so if you wanted a material list that you could send over to the wholesaler to actually get a quotation. So if I go for a bought out summary, for example, preview it, and if I ask for quantities only, and I can specify what I want them for, but I'm going to have it for everything. And here we are. I've now got a nice little sheet in here that basically tells me of all the different sizes and how many of them I'd need if you wanted a rough idea on quotation. And here on the generate bought out, just so you've seen it, the hose clips for the flex, the split rings for the support, and male couplings of course as well. Just because they don't necessarily always get shown to you in the software, they do get generated automatically for you behind the scenes. So there's a lot of different options in here. Best bet is to probably come on here and have a little bit of a look. I'll give you one more example, which is estimate detailed. If I preview this, as you can see in here, this is giving you a complete breakdown, so you can even see what gauge thicknesses you're using, total pieces, total labor costs and total material costs. So this is giving you a very detailed breakdown at your guys' costs, just there for any information that you might need. And it can be helpful if you are thinking that your quotation is costing a little bit too much than it should. Then I'd always advise coming onto one of these printouts basically, to give you a bit more of an idea of what's happening. Now when you are in your preview and export, you can do quick exports to PDF, CSV and Word documents as well as Excels down here. Select whichever you'd prefer and simply hit your export reports. Or alternatively, you can tick the relevant ones that you'd like and just directly export it to PDF by clicking this button, which will actually allow you to merge that into one single document rather than preparing them as their own documents. So I've got quite a few choices in there. Now if I come off of reports, and what we're going to do is continue forward to the last stage of the job, which is the bills portion, which is where we can generate our tender summaries or bills of quantities for our clients. So if we just wait for the pop-up to appear, here we go. And what we're going to want is either a section summary or a tender summary, more than likely from over here on the left hand side. And I've got a schedule of rates being created over here on the right hand side as well, so we could easily turn that on and off as we please. We've got settings down here at the bottom, and what we can actually do is we can set up your company letterhead to be generated on it as well as here in the middle as well. We can set up pre-made documentation for any of these documents, and we can change the titles to suit as well for you as well. And this would allow us to bring up a draft version of it, which we could then amend for this particular quotation, so it can be pretty helpful for exclusions or drawing references. And then once again we have the both export options. You know, we could then merge all of that as one single document, and you can just have everything that you could possibly need for the quotation all on one PDF directly from the software. Or if you'd like to see them a bit more, you can just hit your preview. So let's have a look at the section summary. So here you've got ground floor extract price, ground floor supply price, and you just keep going on and on for as much as you need, and then you get your totals. So if I had my letterhead, that would be included up here, and I can actually get a footer put on down here at the bottom for us as well. So this is one option for a summary, and here's the other. So this is the tender summary now. It's more of a preference because it is effectively the same report, it just breaks it up a little bit differently, and the tender summary gives you subsection totals where the previous report did not. Go through, select which one you guys prefer, and then finally when you need to generate it, your bill of quantities, which you can have with the sectional breakdown or without the sectional breakdown. So mine currently is without, and it just shows my item, the size, how many meters or unit counts of them that we need if you're referring to a bend, and then you have your fully supplied and fitted rate here per item or per meter again with your total costs. Now we have actually said you can do your exports, but we haven't particularly shown you how. So to actually print off, or sorry, to save the drawing, so you could print it off if you wanted to, or just send it directly via email, I'm just going to hit my export report button down here, which is now taking me inside my little reports folder. And what I can do is I can bring it back. I could put it in, I could make new folders in here for myself, or whichever I'd prefer to do, but I'm just going to save that on there. There we go, perfect. So that is now saved and it's open straight up. So what I can do is I can now just minimize this software because this page is already open. So this is the cloud storage, and what I'm going to want to do is just copy from here, paste this onto my desktop, and now I can open up my PDF. Got all the information here, so now I can do the standard print, save, or send it to whoever I need to. Now if you do actually want to bring up that cloud storage option again, because for example you've shut it down, I've not, let me close that. If you've done it very much like what I've just done there and you want to bring it back up because you want to be able to get to your report, easiest way, if you just come out of your job, you can go directly to your cloud documents up here, which is your cloud storage. This is there, for example, where you could upload your different drawings, and where we can, oh sorry, wrong folder, where we can get to the different reports that we've made. And within here, if you'd like, you can create any new folders to help you store and organize your items. Now if you'd like or need any more help with this and like to book your own online training one-to-one, then simply click your support button and contact us whichever way you'd prefer. Like I said, whether that would be through our contact number, submitting a ticket, or talking to us through our online chat. Alright, thank you.